In many of our other videos, we focused on wine producers and famous chateaus. This time, we're focusing exclusively on what is probably the world's most famous vineyard, Montrachet.
But if you're in the know about wine, you definitely would recognize this.
What makes this vineyard so special, and why do bottles of Montrachet wine cost anywhere from $800 to more than $30,000? Join us in finding out.
So we actually have a bottle of white wine today. I'm so used to trying only red on this channel, so I'm excited.
You're right. The first thing you need to know about Montrachet is that only Chardonnay grapes are grown in that vineyard.
And these bottles, they can cost upwards of $1,000, right?
Oh, they start at $1,000 and go up from there, depending on the producer.
And I know I ask this every time, but what makes these bottles so expensive?
It's all about exclusivity. Very, very low supply. And you know what happens when you tell people they can't have something, right?
They just want it more.
That's right. So let's take a look at what makes Montrachet so exclusive.
Let's do it.
The Montrachet vineyard is located in the very south of Côte d'Or, straddling the villages of Chardonnay and Puligny-Montrachet. Of course, the villages take their name from the famous vineyard. The part of the vineyard that is located in Chardonnay is facing southeast and referred to as Le Montrachet, as in the Montrachet. Whereas the part of the vineyard that's located in Puligny-Montrachet is east facing and referred only as Montrachet. Above the vineyard is Chevalier Montrachet and below Baton Montrachet. In all, there are 5 Grand Cru vineyards in this tiny area, but Montrachet occupies the Goldilocks location. It's believed that grapes have been grown in this area since Roman times. In fact, the main town, Bonn, was founded by Julius Caesar as a Roman camp.
So I have a question. Who owns the Montrachet vineyards?
So that's one of the fascinating aspects of Burgundy, is that vineyards often have multiple owners. And then the vineyard gets subdivided into smaller subplots, and that's certainly the case for Montrachet. The Montrachet vineyard is about 8 hectares, which translates to about 20 acres. There seem to be at least 18 different owners of the Montrachet vineyard, and the biggest owners by far is the Leguiche family and Domaine Pinard, and much of this grape production is sold to others. Together, they own almost half the vineyard. The most famous and exclusive landowners and producers, however, are Domaine Romanée-Conti, Domaine Leflaive, Lafont, and Romanée. A bottle of DRC Montrachet will cost upwards of $10,000, while a bottle of Leflaive Montrachet can cost more than $20,000. Yes, you heard this right, $20,000 for a bottle of Chardonnay.
So you actually visited the vineyards, right?
Yeah, we had a wonderful trip to Burgundy and drank a bunch of world-class wines and got to see the whole shebang.
And what was it like visiting one of the most expensive vineyards? Because I'm pretty sure my invitation got lost in the mail.
Oh my, yeah, well, you know, it was really cool for me as a wine nerd. But to be quite truthful, it was kind of nondescript and not that big of a deal. The vineyard is beautiful, the sign's modest, and you really feel like you're part of a farming community. The road we drove went right between Montrachet and Baton Montrachet, and we had the opportunity to walk around. We didn't really see anyone else. The soil here is limestone with a thin layer of flinty clay. And this is part of the magic, of course. Not as rocky as Chevalier Montrachet, and not as rich clay soil as Baton Montrachet. According to the experts, this gives Montrachet wines the perfect balance of minerality and richness.
Now that we've hyped Montrachet up so much, I'm really excited to try it.
Me too, B.
Are you nervous though, especially after our La Tâche failure?
Yeah, that was really painful. It'll take a while before I get over that.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Today, we're trying a bottle of 2011 Montrachet made by Marc Colin. The wine received great reviews when it was released in 2014, and we hope 10 years in the bottle has allowed it to develop further. We opened the bottle, which has a wax capsule, about an hour prior to drinking it. Our serving temperature is between 55 and 60 degrees.
And of course, we have our favorite sommelier, Stacey. Thank you so much for joining our channel again today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for helping us out.
Anytime.
What makes this vineyard, Montrachet, so special?
I mean, you've got so many ways to look at this. Burgundy should be simple. It's Chardonnay, it's Pinot Noir. But it never is. It is split a million different ways from Napoleon's time on down. 800 different people own each vineyard. The production methods, every different soil type makes a different wine. Every different commune is different. Communes have their famous vineyards appended to their names, so you get not just Montrachet, but Chardonnay Montrachet. It's intense, and it can be super intimidating.
So I'm not the only one who's confused about Burgundy.
No. It still catches me.
I'm confused too. So Stacey, what makes a Grand Cru Burgundy different from, let's say, a California Chardonnay?
Place, right? When you're talking about Grand Cru, you are talking about a singular expression of place, this tiny little vineyard that kind of creates the pinnacle of this style of wine. If your California Chardonnay grew up one day, it would be a Grand Cru Burgundy, right? This is what they're all aspiring to.
So they have a lot of more minerality to it. They're often a little bit more, they've got more acidity typically. Is that generally true or just true for some?
I think that's generally true,
Okay.
especially when you're talking Burgundy. You are looking at where it's from, right? You are higher up, cooler climate, which produces more acidity. You don't get quite as much ripeness, which preserves all that great acidity and doesn't overly ripen the fruit, which the first time you taste a California Chardonnay, it's big and fat and buttery and blousy and lots of ripe fruit flavors. All of that beautiful acidity has gone away. It's been ripened out, and so you get this big, fat, round, juicy ripeness instead of this clean, crystalline acidity.
Ooh. And the minerality in the wine comes from the limestone, the ground,
We
or
could spend
what?
a whole video talking about where the minerality comes from, and if you brought 2 or 3 other wine snobs with us, we could argue whether it was just soaked up through the roots, whether it was really from the minerality in the soil, or whether dealing with that type of soil creates the perfect environment to preserve the minerality that's already in Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a minerally kind of flavored grape. When you super over-ripen it, when you age it in a ton of oak, when you introduce malolactic fermentations, when you muddle with it, you kind of mask and hide that beautiful minerality that is a part of Chardonnay.
Sounds like this is your style.
Might be.
All right, we hyped this up a lot. I'm ready to start drinking this.
All right, let's do it. Where do we start?
I'm in. Let's look at it. The color, right? This is like almost highlighter yellow. As white wines in general get older, they kind of go through this like crazy bright highlightery color, and then sometimes as they age even further, you'll get amber and brown tones. This kind of looks super perfect age-wise on the color. What's it smell like?
What do you get, B?
I don't know, it just smells fresh. I can't really put my finger on the exact notes. Stacey, I'm gonna need you to help me out there, but it smells really fresh and crisp. I really love that.
So fresh and crisp to me are perfect earmarks for Burgundy. You're getting that minerality, that acidity, that fresh crispness. There's even something that's kind of like apple pear, like just freshly
Yeah.
bitten into that juice spray kind of flavor that's on the nose.
Did you get any apricot?
Some apricot. There's a little bit of kind of like honeyed flavor too, which is also really nice in a Burgundy of this age. Usually you get some of those kind of riper, sweeter notes too, so apricot's a good one.
I'm gonna give it a try, B.
All
What
right,
do you
should
think?
we do a cheers?
We should do
Cheers.
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 Yum. That's really good.
I'm still rolling that around a little.
Oh.
Yeah, that's delightful.
I need to start doing that.
There's a lot of flavors, a lot of concentration. Really yummy stuff.
Really yummy stuff. It is Chardonnay, big and round in the mouth, right? Like if you take a little second sip, roll it around a little longer, it hangs out, it clings to your palate. It's like hugging your tongue.
Yeah, I like the viscosity of that. It really is thick. It's full-bodied, great, creamy, but yet tangy
Yes.
and minerally.
This is the magic of Burgundy. So many California Chards, like you were asking earlier, lose that minerality and lose that tangy acidity. It's just big and fat and round and just clings to your palate. You don't even want another sip. It's sometimes just so thick. This has got my mouth watering. I'm now like refreshed. I'm thirsty again. I want another sip.
Oh, it's delicious. But it brings back the point though. The price. Oh my gosh. You know, people ask, is there anything that's worth $1,000, for wine? and it's yummy and it's so good, but the price just.
When you've got 2,000, 3,000 cases and multiple buyers for each bottle, it's hard to argue that it's worth the price if people are still fighting over paying it. Having tasted it, would I pay the price again? That's probably the question.
Yeah, it's certainly not an everyday kind of wine.
Oh, for sure.
When we were in Burgundy, they said, of course, yeah, we need to charge the prices because we have 40 buyers for every bottle.
Exactly.
So that's what, I guess, low supply and huge demand. And who are these buyers?
There are buyers out there, right, who are searching on the secondary market, especially to find these bottles. Where did you get this one?
Yeah, we got this from Flickinger Wines in Chicago, Illinois.
For sure. So there are people who are on lists, who are buying them right away from distributors, and who are definitely flipping them and reselling them. You can go online and type in Montrachet and find any bottle you want, not necessarily for any price you want.
But these are collectors typically?
For sure. Most of these are collectors. You're not going to spend this kind of money on the regular to drink this.
No.
Or if you are, can we please hang out?
And in your restaurant. Anytime you ever.
These are special occasion.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
This isn't Tuesday night with a piece of flounder. Or if it is, also, please call me. But this is a special occasion, right? You've sprung for something that's unique, that there is a very small amount of. No one else is going to get to drink that bottle tonight, because I probably have 2 bottles in house, at the restaurant, right? That's the supply and demand you're talking about. There just aren't that many bottles to go around. But if you're in the know about wine, you definitely would recognize this one. This is one of those few that kind of sticks out. As you learn more about wine, you learn about the Grand Cru vineyards. It's one of the first ones. You learn about the top 5 Bordeaux estates. So these are the things that, as you learn more about wine, these kind of show up as little stars in your lexicon. So.
When I think of aging wine, I normally think of red wines, but this bottle of white is over 13 years old or 13 years old. Can you kind of explain more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the same things that help red wines age also help white wines age.
Okay.
While we talk about strictly tannins in reds, we talk about acidity as well. And acidity has the same kind of preservative factor that tannin does. So you've got this great line of acidity in white wines in things like Chardonnays from Burgundy, Rieslings from Germany and Alsace. All of these have this kind of built-in preservative that helps the wine age really nicely. Not just keeps it, preserves it, but also helps it transform as it ages a little bit. So we're getting not just those like crisp, fresh appley flavors, but the apricots that you mentioned. Sometimes there's like ginger and honey that'll come out too. As the fruit kind of evolves, the acidity kind of hangs out and keeps it going. And the fruit makes this just a totally different experience than it would have been 10 years ago.
So would you say that Montrachet develops more complexity with time?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
So one of the things, Stacey, that I've had bad experiences with, Burgundy and oxidation. So
Yes.
just opened Grand Cru white Burgundy, and it was just gone completely. It was almost brown, oxidized, terrible. And I feel like it happens to all of them, or
Yes.
a lot of them.
50%
What's going
of
on?
them.
What's going on? This obviously was fantastic, no issues.
Right.
But what's behind
so this
it?
is a real thing that happens, and the turn of the century, which is a crazy thing to say right now in 2024, around the turn of the century, Burgundy had a really terrible problem with premox, or premature oxidation, which was basically this characteristic of opening the bottle and you would have the brown and the colors that were showing you a wine that was 30 or 40 years old and it was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So it did not hold up well in the bottle. Something was off with the acidity, something was off with the flavors. There were problems with the way they packaged them. The corks were not sound. They had trouble with chemicals that had gotten into the cork. So there was a lot of different reasons that this happened. There's even been a whole conversation about, did this come about because of a change in winemaking practices? Was the whole cluster press a problem that created a little oxidation in the beginning, but encouraged it to get farther along? Or did it create some reduction that caused problems? All of these crazy wine terms. So they've figured out a few things. They've changed the way that they're making wine in the wineries. They've also invested in different corks and procedures to make sure that there's nothing chemically wrong in the corks. So they're doing a lot now. So hopefully, as you're aging your beautiful Burgundies for the next 10, 15, 20 years, the problem is falling off less and less.
Yeah, because the last thing I want to do, right, is buy Burgundy upon release, stick it in my cellar, wait for that glorious moment.
That special occasion.
Only to find out that it's ruined.
Yeah, not a good feeling.
All right, B, this is definitely your first Montrachet.
It is.
Same.
Definitely not your first Montrachet.
It's my first Montrachet. I've had Chardonnay and Polini, but not Le Montrachet. So this is exciting. This is my first one.
Ooh. And your impressions?
I love it. I mean, I love it because I didn't have to pay for it.
Not a bad reason to love it. It is also delicious. So if I'm going to drink Chardonnay, please let it be Burgundy, and please let it be Montrachet. It's delicious.
So delicious.
Drinking really well right now.
Drinking well right now. You think it would improve with age?
I think that there's still some complexity here that could develop.
Okay.
I don't want to hang on to it for 10 more years, but maybe
Okay.
3, 5. I think it's still got some life in it.
I am not a typical white wine drinker. I love this. I think it's delicious. And I think you mentioned it earlier. It kind of makes you want to go back for more. It's like a bucket of popcorn that you can't stop eating. You want more of this.
Yes.
This is delicious.
I'm almost done with mine.
So let us know what you think. If you've had a Montrachet before, please let us know. And if you have thoughts on Burgundy, please share your experience with Burgundy, especially if you've aged it. We'd love to hear from you.
Stacey, thank you so much for coming today.
Please, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping us and helping the viewers.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.